Great, we're back. Let's pick another one of the nexus. We're going to jump to energy. I will share my screen and we'll get started. Energy has many definitions, but the one that I like is it's the ability to do work. If you don't have energy, we can't do much. And so we ask students, what gives you energy? And they start giggling and they say, well, a Butterfinger, a chocolate milkshake, not taking a field trip and not being in the classroom. Anyway, that kind of thing. And then we turn and say, well, what gives life on Earth energy? And by and large, most of us will fill it in with things that we know about, like plants and animals and the sunshine and trees and so on. But the truth of the matter is that more that gives us life on Earth is in the ground. And that's an amazing thing. But we'll get to that when we get to the food section. Here is a guide to the energy of the Earth, a TED-Ed. They're wonderful because they have quizzes and notes and everything, and they're for you to use. This is a little more dynamic, and it's a NASA movie that's very beautiful, and it shows you the sun reaching the Earth and how it charges the temperature of land and water and the ocean currents. And the ocean currents churn at the top and down below and then begin to move the weather across the lands. It's quite beautiful. And the amount of sun in 1 year or 1 day can actually fuel all of the human energy needs in 1 year. We just have to harness it. So there we go. Energy is in everything, and energy living every living thing, and so on. Here, I'm going to stop for just a minute. Okay, great. And I will go right back. Okay. And here you see different definitions of energy. Sound energy, which is waves, mechanical energy, like wind that's constantly moving, a wind vane or a fish swimming. Heat or thermal energy is the air movement of air. Light or radiant energy is the only form of energy we can see, and so on. And then there's potential, which is stored, like the apple. It's sitting there, and then it becomes energy when we go through the chemical reaction to digest it. But we're going to switch that to everyday changes we can think about to live a less energy using life. So most of us live in habitats. So we pass with students small little houses, and they turn around and they look at them, and we say, identify the roof, identify the windows, and now place that house, orient it on a plot of land. Most architects will look at the movement of the sun, rising in the east and in the west in this hemisphere, and then being lower in the winter, thank goodness, because we need the warmth of the sun coming horizontally into our houses, and then higher in the summer where our eaves can shade us from getting that heat. But it's very important that the building form, shape, and structure is in relationship to the sun. The second is situating the house in relationship to precipitation and wind. And that is that you don't want to put the house in the low part of the site where the water will collect and you'll have basement problems. And you also don't want to put the front door in this particular biome and client facing the north, because you open that door, the cold winter winds usually come from the north in this area. And you can learn some ways to conserve water with rainwater harvesting or building rain gardens when it rains. You can put a rain barrel here. You can take the rain off the roof and store it. And then when you're ready, just spray your plants and gardens with it. You can also reuse the washing and other waters in the house, putting it into, as to gray water usage. You can do that. There's flush toilets now that use gray water flushing or clean, purified water flushing. But another huge thing to think about is inside our houses. How many of you took a shower last night or today? Right now in your house, 24/7, there is a hot water tank that is keeping the hot water, and then it's ready to go to the washing machine, your dishwasher, your shower, or your bath. That is 23 hours and at least too much. And so what other countries are using, and our country has to start using, is hot water on demand. There's a little storage place right here that the water is right there. It flares up, it's heated almost instantly, and the hot water comes out. It fills your bath and your shower and washes your clothes. This is more efficient. Let's be smarter and choose the more efficient way. Most of us probably do this. Open a window down below, open a window up, get nice cross fresh ventilation. By and large, outdoor air is cleaner than indoor. We give them a roof plan so that they can start really thinking of the north, south, east, west, placement of solar panels, shade trees, where they would place sunny gardens to grow food, and shade gardens. Most of them have never done this before, so it's quite fun to vegetate and hydrate. And you can see the water barrels here and the solar panels facing south and the deciduous trees blocking the wind or evergreen trees. What we often don't think about is like right now I'm wearing a t-shirt, it's winter or a turtleneck. I have a sweater here. We put layers on. Those layers insulate us from the cold weather, the coats and the boots and the hats and the gloves. Houses are no different. They are just a structure, a shelter, and they have to have R values too, or resistant values. So the highest actually is in the attic. Why do you think? Hot air rises, and if there's no insulation, it will just go out. It won't heat the house, it won't stay there after you're pumping it out of your furnace down below. It'll just go through that unheated attic out into the cold. So you need the attic, you need the roof everywhere, you need the walls and the floors, even the basements. Surprisingly enough, most older buildings have a lot of R value because they're built with very thick walls. The buildings built after World War II, there was no insulation until 1965. It was not required by code. So all those need to have blown-in insulation, or I like the felt or wool insulation, which is natural or more natural and renewable. This is the wall section on the left, and the little squiggly lines are the insulation. And a 4-year-old in Germany can say, that's the one I want to insulate my house. So think about it. These are things, everyday math, everyday science, we can introduce to our students in the classroom. Here is the insulation and then telling key moments of insulating or sealing it. Like how many fireplace walls are insulated? How many vents to the soffit and roof are insulated? And notice this, it went from a larger square footage floor plan to more compact. That is key when we build our residences, particularly that's part of why we go vertical when we're in urban areas, because they only use a small part of land instead of sprawling in suburbia, which is not efficient. Cities are very efficient, but right now, because they've really denatured their land, they pretty much use 60% of our energy. And they only take up 1 to 2% of the land. Actually, all the human population could fit inside Texas. So these are things to think about, and they might make you change your mind about where you live. And the fact that vernacular or indigenous housing is probably the most sustainable because it uses local materials and it responds directly to the climate. And now we have green materials, which is reused a lot of things in renewable, like renewable energy. So activate this house with electricity, hopefully non-renewable or renewable energy sources. And you might want to become a solar panel or solar thermal installer. So these are the points. You can learn them here and label them, and it's quite easy. The system facing south. To just push you a little more to begin to study in a different way, in a more transdisciplinary way, this is a map of the United States that is showing the redness and the blue of the carbon footprint of the average home. So you can see the city areas are darkest. because they are the biggest carbon footprint. Some of that, yes, is from the higher population, but some of it is also because they've created concrete jungles. You can go inside the smart home and find out a lot of ways with technology that we're tracking what is being used and how successful its use is. You can go to Energy Star, which is the company that produces washing machines that use less water, use less energy, and check out your house and find out your square footage, its occupants, all the different fuels used, and the last 12 months of utility bills, and it will give you a score. You can also be interested in being a green architect and start researching green architecture buildings. They are wonderful. The 2030 palette by Architecture 2030, it's also a green education partner by UNESCO, is a wonderful place to find green buildings and what they're doing to make changes. So we're almost done, but I love this nature part because when we as humans learn the power of fire, and then we would move it inside the cave to keep warmer or inside kind of a wooden shelter, that source of light, that candle source, one candle, 1 foot away from the candle on 1 foot square, the light it takes is called a foot candle. So when we design buildings with lights like your exit lights, in case there's an electricity outage, we need at least 20 foot candles for everyone to see their way to the stairway and to go down, things like that. And so to really look at something like a jeweler up close, you might want 500 or 600 foot candles. But to read a book, it could be 40. So you begin to see the difference. So you're going to go back to your house now and find out about the bulb types, find out about their different life spans, their different watts and their energy uses, and then how many hours you have them on. So when we look at watts, they are the source of energy that turn our lights on for hours in our appliances. And there's even phantom watt energy if we don't unplug our lamps or our toaster or our computers and digital, our TVs. And then when we go to medium-sized housing, then it becomes kilowatt and then megawatts and gigawatts when we get into cities. Many neighborhoods and cities are talking about getting digital smart meters so that it can track your usage of energy during peak hours and try to help you manage it so you use it when not everyone has their air conditioning on. And then we ask everyone, how many power grids are there in the US? You can see them, 3, almost like the watershed, but it's the western and from the Rocky Mountains or the plain, and then the eastern, and then Texas. Okay, just letting you know, because when these power outages and storms happen, large areas are devastated. So it's important I won't go through the steps, but you can label them as they go, where they're coming. And you can learn from other companies how they're producing smart grid utilities. So we're ending now. What is energy? US energy facts, who uses energy the most, what are non-renewable sources, what are renewable sources, what are nature's passive, we don't have to pay, they're just there, they were given to us. The active systems are the one we have to pay for. Almost done.
The average home produces over 200,000 balloons every year. Save energy, and you'll also save money and reduce your impact on climate change. You have the power to make a difference.
If you and I don't make any changes, by and large, we will need 4 planet Earth. That's a shocking thing, but we need to begin to be efficient, make use with less, reuse, recycle, regenerate, save water, save energy, and make secure food. These are real quickly. We'll end with these. You can check them when you play the video. We end with UNESCO Sustainable Development Goals, which is what are all come together to make a safe and just place for all living things on Earth and for the planet. And you can track your energy use. And congratulations to the Ball State Net Zero Home that won the Solar Decathlon National Competition last year. It's a wonderful thing. They had to design it, they had to monitor the energy level, and they had to build it. If they can do it, we can do it too. And you can actually start with a dollhouse, so you can work with elementary and early levels. You can do the worksheet, but then actually bring that dollhouse to Echo Day and hand out green homes, green water journeys, green foods, whatever. And people will start thinking about their buildings and their energy use and their food use differently. Here are students after a green school worksheet and who want to be green architects. This is how they voted. There were probably 30 students. So you can see they're going to put solar panels, solar thermal for the pool, green roofs, green walls, wind vanes, and prairie plants. And one last interview with students.
Before the sustainability hack, I really didn't know that much about energy. Like, we'd study it at school, but I kind of just saw it as like, because the way that the school put it was that there's infinite amount of energy because it comes from the sun. But I kind of come to realize that that's partially true. Like, yes, we can get more energy, but the way we use it is like we're using too much of it. So I've learned that now we kind of have to save it, and before I kind of thought that, well, we don't have to worry about it.
At first, when I thought about energy at home, I didn't think that it was something that can go through around the whole house. So now I see it as something that can like transfer around different areas and stuff.
Before I did this, I would think a little bit about the energy. I know my parents would always tell me like, "Oh, turn off the lights because you're wasting energy in the house," and I would, but I brushed it off. I didn't really think much about it. But now I'm more aware of it, and I kind of feel bad for not listening to my parents. But at least I know now, and I'll be able to teach my kids too when they grow up. I'm like, no, I actually have a reason why.
Okay, any questions on energy and where we are today as a world, as a country, as states? Collaboration is our future. Let's take a break and we'll come back and get hungry with food.